Hey, last time I was streaming, I was doing a lot of swearing about trying to make a .NET Core application from the template, but not using TypeScript. Not that I've got anything specifically against TypeScript, I just didn't want to use it. And as if anyone saw my Twitter the other day, the key to making me feel stupid is to try and edit a Webpack file. So yeah, that didn't go well. I spent a bit of time, well, a lot of time today, working out how to do it. So the text you can see on screen is my conversion to remove TypeScript from the application. So now that I've done that, I thought we'd try and get some data on screen before we actually start worrying about layouts and things. Most of this work I'm going to be doing probably inside VS Code, so I hope that it shows up on screen as well for everyone as the presentation mode of Rider does. And there is no presentation mode for this. Well, I wonder if there's a package. Extensions. No. Oh well, worth a check. So this is the standard layout that we get from a React application. The difference is we're not going to bother with this components folder. We're going to have a folder per namespace, or per component, rather than them all lumped into one. So I want to do a fairly basic description on the UI to start with of what toggles are available. So I'm going to have a single component for a toggle, which is how we'll render them most of the time, and we'll be able to compose those later. So we'll create a thing called toggle and a new file in there called index.js. Now I have to remember how to do all of this, so it's import React from React, and we'll also... Now let's try and avoid using a component to start with. So you can use classes and components, but I'm going to try and do this using the lambda functions, or arrow functions as JavaScript people seem to call them, because those are stateless and a little easier to deal with. So our toggle is going to be const toggle equals a lambda that returns, and now we'll just put some HTML in here. So a div, is there any keyboard shortcut to shut a tag in VS Code? Clearly not. This is great, you get to see me typing even more then, which is bad for you. We'll give these a class name because we're probably going to want to attach specific styles to them later, so we'll just call this class toggle. Now I was thinking about how I want to display a toggle earlier, and we've got information available to us such as the toggle's default state, and then it can be customized for a number of users. So what I was thinking of is something along the lines of toggle name, and then maybe its description, and then underneath that we'll put something like default on, 3 other settings. And when you click that, you'll get an expansion that gives you user 1 off, group 2 off, that kind of thing. So I guess that means we're going to take in some kind of toggle object. We'll use destructuring in the method here, so we would if I could get the cursor in the right place. So we're going to need to check what our response type is. So if we look back at our controllers, and we see what these return. These are returning toggle views, so toggle view. So it's just called name description. I suppose we should put tags in here somewhere as well, but we can think about that later. Sure. Did I spell that right? Description. No, I haven't spelled it right because I can't spell. So we're probably going to want a header here of some form. Not a very big one, so maybe an H3 will do. Name. God damn, I missed the autocomplete from Atom. H3. And we want the name. Can you do a name in line with a description? With a header, sorry. Maybe. Oh well. Just use a span for now. Description. So this component's not very useful on its own, but it doesn't have any data to it, and that'll do for our initial thing. So we're going to do export default toggle. Right. Let's commit that. Web UI add basic toggle view. And just to show that it actually works, we'll go to our home page, which has still got all of this initial crap in it. And I shall just import that component and render it. So import toggle from, and this comes from dot toggle. And we shall just stick it here, say. We'll do toggle self-closing. The name needs a value, so we'll just call this toggle 1. And a description. Oh, that's nice, IntelliType. Description, this is a toggle. And that's it. I should probably run this thing. I should mention that I've also added some convenience methods to the npm file, the package.json. So I've got 2 scripts here, one for starting the application up and one for killing off .NET processes, because when you exit a .NET process that's running your web server, it doesn't seem to completely exit ever. So it just keeps running in the background. Next time you try and run it, you get a port binding error. So npm run kill. It should error because I don't think I've got one running. Don't. So now we can just do npm start. And what this is doing is setting the ASP.NET environment to development so that we get hot module reloading and then calling .NET run. So now we're listening on port 500, 1000 even. We can just refresh this page. And with luck, we'll get our toggle. And there it is in all of its non-styled glory. I think we'll give it a little bit of styling. We're using Bootstrap, so what's it? Get bootstrap.com/CSS, I think. Right, I want just some kind of box around it. Maybe it's components I'm after. There's a lot of glyph icons. I'm sure it was called panel or something. It's so long since I've done anything webby. Yeah, that'll do. Like I said, I don't need much in the way of styling. I'm going to deal with that properly later. But just enough to give us a layout and hint of where it is. There we go. Yep, that's horrible and will do. So now that we've got a single toggle that can be displayed, like I've shut that, but if you look at this web page, it's still responding. Despite the fact I've tried to stop, and you still get all this stuff in the console. Hence npm run kill. 2 .NET processes, which didn't need to be running. Anyway, let's reset head client app components. Commit amend. So just adding some styling to that, and we'll now get rid of that. So what we're going to do is create another new folder, and this is going to be for our dashboard. And again, we'll have an index.js, import React from React. Now, const dashboard equals lambda equals lambda, which is going to do something. I guess we'll have an h1 just saying hello for now. Right, I really need a package to autocomplete HTML. With alt dot. Yeah, that's basically what I'm after. Right, let's see if it works. Alt period. Well, that's not doing anything. Well, that's useful. Maybe I need to enable it. Autocomplete. I want it to work in a JavaScript file. Oh, that's rubbish. Maybe it's a JSX tools. No, right, okay, I'll worry about that later. So close H1. Right. So now this dashboard needs some data in it, which means we probably need to actually query our API, which would be much more fun to do. So before we even do that, I'm going to write the component and pass it fake data to start with. So it gets toggles as an input. Return, I don't really know, probably a div with a class name of row, I guess, maybe. And we'll then inside that put unordered list. And inside that we shall do something with our toggles, which is going to be toggles.map toggle index, and we shall import our toggle. So import toggle from, so, and now we can actually put a toggle component in. I don't think I got my destructuring correct on that. Well, maybe I did. We'll see. And obviously we need the key to be set as well, because otherwise React shouts at you. Now, what's your problem? Missing an opening bracket. There we go. Return export defaults dashboard. Right, so now on our home page we can put in our dashboard. And just so we have some fake data, we should just say const toggles equals a new array where we have name, one, description, descript. Jeez, my typing is getting worse and worse every day, I swear. Right, that'll do for one, and we'll just do that, and we'll have three. And I'm going to get rid of all this junk. And in here, as it's just a, well, yeah, okay. We'll just say dashboard toggles equals toggles. And we'll find out how badly I've messed up my structuring on that. I have a feeling I've got it wrong. Ooh. Right. Warning, dashboard, a valid React element must be returned. I thought that was valid. I don't think that will make the difference, but I'm reasonably certain that's valid. Okay, we'll just do this and turn it into a direct one. I can never remember if I actually need brackets around these things, so I'll put them in there just in case. Oh, that's valid. And that's doing basically the same thing. So maybe it's the home page that's not valid. I imported that correctly. Import dashboard from, yeah, that looks right. I wish it would give more helpful error messages. Like, you may have returned undefined, an array, or some other invalid object. Like where? Oh, there we go. Right, so we've kind of got there in that I thought I'd screwed that destructuring up, and I have. So what I'm going to do is turn this into a bodied function. And we'll take the name and the description out, put the word toggle here. And here we'll say const. Oh goodness, I can't remember how to do this. I think it's like that. I think that's the right syntax. Yeah, it is. So we now have our 3 toggles there. So let's add these. What did I call my last one? Git pending. Web UI. Add dashboard with hard-coded toggles. Right, so now let's actually add some data fetching to this. If I can remember how to. So we'll need actions.js. And our first action is to fetch toggles for the dashboard. So export const list all toggles. Doesn't take any parameters as in, and returns an object with a type of list all toggles. I think that's all we should need for that for now. Let's add a new file, ReactJS. Now, here we need to handle our actions. Kind of. Hang on, I need to go and check, because I've not used the thunk middleware before, but this does. So I had to try and work out how I was supposed to call things earlier. And I've shut the window. Well, you can't check out branches on this, can you? Right, another Git window. Right, now this has a weather component, which has got everything just chucked into one file, and that's the function I need to recreate. So I'm just going to copy this for now. Oh, and that import. So this is our action, in fact. We'll call this, yeah, no, let's still call it list or toggles. We don't take any parameters in. That can go away. Oh, I can't actually zoom in the editor. Oh, I can. There we are. Make it a bit bigger for people. Take that. Ooh. Now, we don't have that check to do, and we are just fetching everything, so we don't need to do a check. start date. No, we don't have that. Now we're going to fetch something from our API. So that's toggles and no parameters. Now I'm thinking we might actually need to put our API under a API root, but for the time being, we can just deal with toggles on there. So when this runs, it'll set off this task going and dispatch this to our reducer. So this is going to be a list all toggles. Let's actually change it. Let's not do list all. Let's see, request. And then we'll have receive all toggles. We don't get a start date, but we do get some toggles. Oh, blast. So this fetch task will hit the API. We'll then, once that returns, turn it into JSON, or at least read the JSON into an object, and then we will dispatch another event which says that we've received data from the API. So that's all we need for the action. Reducers, if I remember correctly, are just a case statement. Yep. So our reducer is going to be export const reducer equals. Now this takes in a state parameter and an action, and it returns state. So that would be a valid reducer that does nothing. But what we're actually going to do is do switch action.type case, is it? I can't remember JavaScript. Case, yes. So now we use our two methods here, or two types, remember? So we've got something to happen with this one. Return something. And then we've got another one which is case. This is receive all toggles. And we'll return something for that as well. And why is that? I didn't think that was valid syntax. Oh well. Can just do that instead, because we're returning things, so there's no need to have multi-statement bodies. But if it's not one of these, we just want to return the current state. We actually need to do stuff in here as well, so now our state is just for this particular action, it's not for the whole application. So it's just our node of the application's state tree that we're modifying. So in our case, as we're requesting all toggles, we can just overwrite it with the response. So I'm just going to say return action.toggles. Oh, I'm not there. I'm not anyway. So we're going to return toggles. Action toggles and loading false. Now for this one, we'll set loading to true, and toggles is going to be a blank array. The only other thing we need to do is define what our initial state looks like. So const default state equals loading false toggles empty array. Now, rather than returning it down here, what we'll do is just set it as a default value. for the parameter. So now that we've done that, we want to hook this up to our store. So we do import, let's say, do we want to call it dashboard? Yeah. No, let's call it toggles. From reducers. No, yeah, reducers. And here we will just say reducers toggles equals toggles. Now you can use a React function called combine reducers to do this for you, which will name them correctly. But for just the one, it's not really worth doing. Now that we've got our store hooked up, what else have I missed? Yeah, I suppose we need to actually make our component do something. So we shall have import. What did I call the action? List all toggles from actions. And we shall take, now we're going to need to use a component now because I want this one to trigger it automatically. So component. So instead of our dashboard being defined like that, we'll do class dashboard extends component did mount, and in here we should just say this.props list all toggles. Nice and simple. We also have a render method, and that returns this. Tab that in, put that there. And the difference is this is now this.state props toggles. Right, now we need to actually hook the thing up, which means we need to import connect from React Redux, I think. Now we need to hook these up as well, so what we shall do is do const map state to props state. I don't need any other properties, so I'm just going to do that. Return state. Yeah, that'll do. Const map dispatch to props was there anything else? I'm sure that took 2 arguments. No, no, own props is going to be on that because I'm screwing things up. So here we take our list all toggles, that'll be our key, and it's a callback. So it doesn't have any arguments, but when it's invoked, what it'll actually do is call dispatch, passing list all toggles into dispatch. This will then get picked up by the middleware. So the middleware that runs all of these functions passes this parameter and we're now passing that parameter to this one. It's effectively double dispatch. And now we do export connect, map state, map dispatch to props, and then to that we pass in our dashboard. I have a feeling I've forgotten something. I can't think what. It's nice to see that still running. npm run kill. Let's just build this. npm start. And let's see if I actually made any errors. Be surprised if I haven't. No reducer provided for key toggles. That's weird, I'm pretty sure I did. Oh. And of course that is null to start with. Let's do this. Const toggles equals that or that. What do you mean toggles on map is not a function? It's not that toggles, it's state toggles. I think that'll fix it. Right, if we hit network, hopefully we'll see that we're making a request to our toggles endpoint, which is returning nothing. So what I'm going to do is use Postman to send a post request to actually create a toggle, so we'll have something to load. Go away. Go away. Just want to send requests. So localhost 5,000 toggles. And we're doing a post request with a body which is raw application JSON. It's got a name of 1 and a description of the first. Do I need anything else than that? I don't think so. Oh, we could have created it anyway. So now if we duplicate that tab, hit that URL instead, with a GET request obviously, there's our toggle. So now if we go into this and refresh, with luck, we get our toggle. So that's our first piece of UI in all its horrible unstyled glory. npm run kill. So dashboard web UI fetch toggles from the API. There we go, that's our first First thing done. Now, if I remember rightly, we changed this to use a persistent store. So .npm start again. This time when it starts the server and we refresh, we should still have that same toggle, which will make our testing in the future a bit quicker. Yep, and we've still got our toggle there. So I've got a few more minutes spare. I need to stop at 8 though. So what we'll do is try and implement a bit more of our styling, or a bit more functionality to our toggle. So we've got this basic use, but what we want to do is have expansion allowable. Or at least a summary. Let's do the summary first. So the object we get back looks like this. So let's put the default state as a description. And how do we want to do that? Default, so let's use a paragraph. I should point out I have no real idea what I'm doing when it comes to web dev, or at least front-end development, but I can muddle through. Default. So it's state anonymous. Now, well, that should display fine. If we go back here, default 0. Now, we're probably going to want to render that nicely. So let's do const toggle state. That, and I'm just going to say JavaScript have an inline if. So if state is 0, return off. Let's invert that actually. If it's state 1, return on, otherwise state off. Now in the future we might change this to a visual component, like a toggle switch or something. For the time being, that'll do. Default is off, much better. Now we want to say if there's any other things, so let's calculate if we've got any other settings. Const specific states equals. Now our object looks like this, so we can just do a count. Can you count objects in a dictionary? How do you count array keys in JavaScript? Object keys. Object.keys will do. So we'll just do object keys on state dot users dot length plus object.keys state.groups length. Let's format that a little bit nicer. Hold it. And then we'll say here, yeah, let's do it as a separate one. Say specific states is greater than 0. Then we'll say and no, let's not use that kind of string. Let's use an interpolated string. And is it $? I think so. Other states. Otherwise, the end of the sentence. Let's see how badly I've messed that up. Default off. Because there's no other states. Right, let's go into this. I'm getting lost. And we'll make that do. So this is probably going to end up being another child component of this to do all these, because we're going to end up with quite a lot of information in this if statement. But we should probably think about actually writing tests for these. So npm run kill. Git add. See what we've done here. Oh, that's got some bad white space. I need to get an extension for code to trim trailing white space as well. Web UI. Expand. Add states to toggle view. Alright, npm install save dev jest. Ah, sick. Thank you very much. It was slightly quicker than me typing, but unfortunately due to the lag and me forgetting to check the chat box. Right, now for testing, I used to use Mocha and Chai a lot, but I saw an article about using Jest instead, and I decided I quite like Jest. I gather when it first came out it was not great, but now it seems to be fine. So I'm going to write tests. Now, the interesting thing about Jest is that they recommend you put your tests either in a separate directory or right next to the things you're testing. So in our case, I'm going to test our reducer, because that's the bit with the logic in it in our case. So I'm going to create a new file, which is going to be reducer.test.js. Import reducer from reducers. Probably should have named that singularly, but hey. And then we just write a test. It should return the default state when unmatching type. And we'll just use a lambda for that. And we'll just say reducer. Actually, we'll say when input is null. And our action is going to be blank. So we can just say const state equals that. Expect state to equal. I can't remember what my default state looks like. Loading false toggles blank. Now I need to remember how to look up this. Where is it? What am I looking for? Package JSON. So let's add the test command. And I think it's jest. I think that's what I need to put in there for the time being. I might end up putting there's a watch all flag. Yes, I heard a lot of people didn't like jest a lot, but now it seems quite nice. I prefer it to Mocha and Chai because I have less things to install. I can just install jest and it kind of works. Or it might do. We'll find out in a minute. Test suite must contain at least one test. Well, yes. Ah, it would help if I saved the thing. Nothing like trying to test a blank file. Oh yeah, I've got to try and work out how to make jest do ES6 stuff. So for the time being, I'm just going to do const require reducer equals require. Oh, yeah, okay. Right. Jest ES6. Blah, 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 blah. There's Babel jest prefix. Oh, that's easy enough. npm install save dev Babel jest. And I'll add that. Oh, okay. Okay, let's see if that works. Script preprocessor was replaced by transform, which supports multiple preprocessors. Does it now? Nope. Wrong thing. Let's copy that. I wonder if it's because I don't have a Babel RC file in here because everything goes through Webpack. Oh, it should be automatically done. Right, let's delete stuff from the web config because as much as I like things of Stack Overflow, if it doesn't work, npm install save dev. Yeah, okay, so you do need the presets. Now, we're not only using that, we're using object spread as well. Oh, yes. I don't like having this in two places. It's env and react. Source, Crispin rests, and it's a no extension file .babel rc. Fingers crossed. Oh, we're getting closer at least. Let's go back to that. Right, let's add babel rc, npm shrink wrap. Oh, lovely. UI, add jest, and setup babel. Right. That should work. But that's where we want, why we write tests. Oh, that looks right to me. What was the error message we got? Question is, can I get this working in the 2 minutes I have before I need to leave? See, no. Well, that's implying that my default parameter is not running. Let's just do this. Can't remember if they fixed this or not, but just used to have big problems in printing stuff from the console. Yeah, it's not running my default state. There we go. So null is a value that doesn't invoke not default state, but undefined does. Whatever. One of the many reasons that I find JavaScript a weird language. Right, let's add a few more tests to this. Should return the current state when type is unknown. And we will just prove that the state is weird by giving it a test true. Type is flat. And now we're just going to expect that that is test true. Right, and then it should set loading true when requesting all toggles. And then it should populate toggles when receiving and that's that. Now to do this, what we're going to do is put that into a separate variable. Like that. And we shall just create some toggles here. And our toggles is going to be an ingenious array of integers because that's easy to type. And in fact, what we can do is not put that in a separate object. So I can just put it there like that. And then we can delete that and say state expect to equal loading false toggles 1, 2, 3. Right. Yeah, good. Let's run our tests. Not that that's a particularly difficult reducer, but at least it shows that our test setup works. Where we are, add tests for dashboard reducer. Right, let's push those up to GitHub. I have to disappear off out a few minutes ago, so I'm going to end it here. Code is on GitHub as always, and if you've got any questions or want to laugh at my attempts at JavaScript, check my YouTube channel or send me a message on Twitter. I'm at Ponderdom on there and everywhere. So yeah, thanks for watching and hope you have a good rest of your evening.